Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here because today we're diving into a story that shocked an entire community, a story so chilling, so personal, that it's still talked about years later. I'm talking about the murder of Jennifer Sebena, a young and devoted police officer whose life was brutally cut short on Christmas Eve, 2012, in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Now, before we dive deeper, I want you to think about this. What would you do if someone you trusted completely, someone you loved, turned out to be a threat? I want you to comment below where you're watching from and share your thoughts. I read every comment, and I want this story to spark a real conversation. Jennifer Sebena was just 30 years old. To everyone around her, she was the picture of commitment and professionalism. A rising star in the Wauwatosa Police Department, Jennifer had already earned respect from her colleagues, mentors, and community members. She volunteered to work extra shifts, always looking out for the quiet neighborhoods of her city, keeping the streets safe while families slept and Christmas lights twinkled. But here's the chilling part: the very night she worked to protect others, someone was watching her. Someone who knew her routines. Someone who knew exactly when and where she would be. Someone who was close enough that no one suspected a threat could come from them. Before we dive in further, I have a small favor to ask. Hit that subscribe button and help us reach our very first 100 subscribers. Your support means the world, and together we can grow this channel into a place full of unforgettable stories. Every comment, every click, every subscriber, it truly matters. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just a crime. It's a story of love, loyalty, betrayal, and a darkness hiding in plain sight. By the end of this video, you'll be asking yourself questions you didn't think you'd ever have to ask. Who was watching Jennifer on that quiet Christmas Eve, and why? Before we uncover the events of that fateful night, we need to understand the woman at the center of this story. Jennifer Sebena wasn't just a police officer. She was a mentor, a friend, a guide to those who needed her most. At Elmbrook Church in Brookfield, Jennifer spent countless hours mentoring teenage girls, guiding them through challenges most adults wouldn't even notice. She was compassionate, patient, and genuinely invested in the lives of others. Her colleagues often said she had an infectious smile, the kind of presence that made a tent station lighter and a neighborhood safer. Her dedication wasn't just to work, it was to people. She believed in protecting her community, but she also believed in standing by those she loved. That included Benjamin Sebena, her high school classmate turned husband. They had reconnected after his second tour in Iraq, their long-distance relationship built over emails that slowly turned into love. By the time they married, their love story seemed perfect: Jennifer in white, Benjamin in full Marine uniform, decorated for his service. Their life together, at first glance, looked like something out of a romance novel. And yet, beneath that perfect exterior, shadows were starting to grow, shadows that no one could have predicted. How could a life so full of service, love, and dedication be targeted for destruction by someone so close? Even in the most seemingly perfect lives, cracks can appear, sometimes small, sometimes catastrophic. For Jennifer, those cracks began to show in the form of warning signs she couldn't ignore. Benjamin, while a decorated war hero, had returned from Iraq deeply changed. His experiences left scars that went beyond physical injuries. PTSD gripped him in ways few could understand. And while Jennifer tried to support him, there were moments that made her, and those closest to her, uncomfortable. Just 18 days before her death, Jennifer confided in a fellow officer, sharing something deeply troubling. She described how Benjamin had pointed a gun at her during one of his episodes. She spoke of flashbacks and mood swings that worsened at night, moments when the man she loved seemed unpredictable and dangerous. Yet Jennifer stayed. She continued to care, continued to leave loving notes around the house, continued to try and help the man she had married. Her loyalty, her compassion, and her sense of duty were strengths, but in this case, they would put her directly in harm's way. Was Jennifer unknowingly placing herself in harm's way? And if so, could anyone have stopped what was about to happen? Even as Jennifer carried out her late-night patrols, completely unaware of what was lurking, Benjamin was watching. Not just observing. Studying. Tracking. Planning. Over the days leading up to Christmas Eve, he learned her patterns. Where she would stop for coffee, how long she would take to complete her reports, even the subtle timing of her footfalls along the cold streets of Wauwatosa. Every detail mattered to him. Details that would soon determine whether Jennifer made it home alive that night. I want you to imagine this with me: the quiet streets, the glow of streetlights reflecting off icy pavements, and a figure crouched in shadow, memorizing every move. Every step Jennifer took was calculated, routine, and completely predictable to the one she trusted most. This isn't just a story about a tragic event. It's a story about how trust can blind us, and how someone's love can twist into something deadly. For hours, Benjamin waited, mapping in his mind the perfect moment. And yet, even with such preparation, the exact timing of what was to come remained shrouded in uncertainty. That's what makes it terrifying, the slow, methodical countdown to a life-ending decision. How far would someone go to turn love into betrayal? Could the person you hold closest really become your greatest threat? At 3:45 a.m. On Christmas Eve, Jennifer pulled into the quiet back parking lot behind Wauwatosa Fire Station 1. A place she had visited countless times, where she had felt safe, well-lit, predictable. But that night, safety was an illusion. As she stepped out of her squad car, stretching briefly before continuing her patrol, Benjamin struck. Shots rang out, 2 from a 9mm Makarov-style pistol hitting the back of her head. Jennifer collapsed, instinctively reaching for her own weapon only for Benjamin to seize it. Then 3 more shots, fired into her face with her own gun. The person she trusted most, her husband, was the one who ended her life. A man she had loved, supported, and cared for in ways few others could. It's the kind of betrayal that shatters belief in the world around you. And yet, the scene was meticulously planned. Benjamin knew her movements, knew her schedule, and executed the attack with deadly precision. For the officers who would later discover her, the horror was compounded by the personal nature of the act. The additional shots to her face weren't just meant to kill, they were meant to send a message, a dark echo of rage hidden behind the guise of love. How could someone she loved plan something so meticulously? How could such darkness grow silently in a place meant for trust and intimacy? In the early hours of Christmas morning, the Wauwatosa Police Department was thrown into chaos. Jennifer's body lay cold on the wet pavement. And as investigators began examining the scene, something unusual immediately caught their attention: a spent cartridge casing of a rare caliber, the kind of ammunition that few guns could fire. CCTV footage from nearby streets revealed a black Toyota Prius with dark rims, traveling from the crime scene at exactly the time of the murder. Later, traffic cameras captured the vehicle en route to the Sebena home. Investigators also noted missing items, Jennifer's service weapon, signs of forced entry, and unusual damage throughout the house. Piece by piece, the evidence began to point in a single, horrifying direction: Benjamin. His alibi was already shaky, and now the physical evidence, combined with surveillance footage, was impossible to ignore. Even with all these clues, Benjamin remained calm, almost confident. Could he truly have believed he could evade justice? Or was he banking on the fact that love, or fear of it, could cover up a meticulously planned crime? Detectives knew they were dealing with someone calculating, intelligent, and methodical. Every detail mattered. Every inconsistency in Benjamin's story became a thread, slowly unraveling the truth. Could the evidence be enough to solve the case, or was Benjamin smarter than anyone imagined? And how long would it take before justice finally caught up with him? The investigation had tightened like a noose around Benjamin Sebena, and by December 25, Christmas Day, he was finally in custody. For hours, investigators watched, listened, and questioned, peeling away the layers of his carefully constructed alibi. Every story he told seemed rehearsed, every hesitation deliberate, but slowly, the cracks began to appear. I want you to picture this. A man who had taken the life of someone he loved most, sitting in a cold interrogation room, with nothing but the weight of evidence pressing down on him. The psychological intensity was palpable. Detectives confronted him with surveillance footage, rare ammunition, and witness statements. Every word he uttered was dissected, every gesture analyzed. A revelation so disturbing that it challenged every assumption about motive. Benjamin admitted that he had killed Jennifer, claiming that he did it to save her from eternal damnation. According to him, his own suicidal thoughts had led him to believe that if he ended his life, Jennifer would follow. In his warped reasoning, murdering her was an act of protection. The room went silent. Even seasoned detectives struggled to process the moral shock. Here was a man who had meticulously planned a murder, justified it with a twisted belief rooted in religion and trauma, and yet expected the world to understand. Does justice depend on understanding the motive, or only the act itself? Can anyone truly make sense of this darkness? The courtroom was packed on August 9, 2013. Jennifer's family, friends, and fellow officers filled every seat. They were there not just to witness justice, but to honor the life of a woman who had given so much to her community. Benjamin Sebena faced the consequences of his actions, life imprisonment, with eligibility for parole after 35 years. The prosecution had recommended decades behind bars, the defense had sought mercy, but the verdict was clear: justice had been served. Yet justice alone could not erase the grief. Jennifer's mother recounted the moment she learned of her daughter's death. The disbelief, the helplessness, the unbearable void. Even Benjamin's mother, speaking through her own sorrow, described him as a different son than the one who had left for war, framing Jennifer as another casualty of a cycle that began long before that night. Her legacy, however, endured. Memorial scholarships were established, police officers rode in her honor, and communities lit up in remembrance. Jennifer's name was etched into history, not as a victim, but as a beacon of courage, service, and unwavering commitment. Justice may be served, but can it ever undo the trauma inflicted on a family, a community, and those who loved her most? Even a year later, the shadow of Jennifer's death lingered. On December 24, 2013, her brother, Jacob Venitsnik, took his own life. Hours before, he had posted a childhood photo of himself with Jennifer, standing near a Christmas tree, a painful reminder of a life and love lost too soon. Grief rippled outward in ways few could anticipate. Communities rallied in solidarity, the Go Blue campaign, memorial lights, police unity rides. Jennifer's story had inspired collective action, but it also served as a stark reminder that trauma does not end with one life, it spreads. Families fracture, communities mourn, and the echoes of violence remain long after the headlines fade. The story forces a question: can a community ever fully recover from a crime this personal? Sometimes, the wounds are too deep, but the response, love, remembrance, and action, can offer a measure of healing. Even with memorials and tributes, could anyone ever feel completely safe again knowing the danger had come from someone so close? As we reflect on Jennifer Sebena's story, it's clear she was more than a statistic. She was a daughter, a sister, a mentor, and a devoted officer whose life was defined by service, compassion, and loyalty. Her story reminds us that danger can hide in the most unexpected places, even within the people we trust most. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think warning signs are always obvious, or only visible in hindsight? How would you have reacted if you were in Jennifer's position? Comment below, I read every response, and let's discuss the ways we can recognize and respond to hidden threats in our own lives. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories, with real analysis, suspense, and lessons we can all learn from. Your support helps this channel grow and ensures these stories are told the way they deserve. Finally, remember this: loyalty can sometimes obscure betrayal, and even the people we love the most can harbor darkness. Jennifer's life may have ended too soon, but her legacy lives on, in the lives she touched, the community she served, and the lessons we carry forward. Stay vigilant. Pay attention. And never underestimate the shadows that can exist in the most familiar places.